Welcome to Subramani. Please hit the bell icon. Please subscribe. I am not a financial advisor in the sense that I don't give any specific advice to anybody, right? Like you can't come to me and say, can you do this financial planning for me? It's a very difficult and a complicated exercise, and I don't do it for anybody. I hardly do it for myself, right? So when people ask me, should I invest in a real estate PMS? Should I invest in a private equity company which my friend's son is running? Should I put money in an AIF which will do fund startups? I actually don't have an answer. To me, the answer is, will I put my money? I don't know. Have I done it? Yes. Am I happy having done it? Maybe. So I thought that instead of saying what should be the features of a good investment, let us look at what should be the features of a bad investment, right? So the thing is, a bad investment should involve putting in a big amount of money and then regularly having to service it, right? So constantly you have to keep doing something like buying some real estate. You have to pay initial charges, then you have to pay monthly charges, quarterly charges, property tax, etc. So some that kind of an example. So a high initial cost and a regular maintenance. So that is one of the features which makes it a bad investment. So right, so look at all of that. So it should be illiquid. It may take you a few weeks, months, years to be able to sell it. This can be true for a private equity in a company which was supposed to go public in 7 years. It would take you 14 years, right? So it should be something like that. So we are just tabulating, so let me not give too many examples. So let me just tabulate what are the features of a real bad investment. It should be expensive to buy and sell. So there should be a, let's say, a 5% entry cost and a 5% exit cost, right? It can happen, right? There are investments, you know, where there's a 5% entry cost and a 5% exit cost. So when people think of jewelry and say jewelry is an investment, it's not. It's a 30% processing fees which is paid for making the jewelry. So that is lost the day you want to sell. So the impact cost of buying and selling gold jewelry is very high, so it's not a great investment. It should be complex to buy or sell. It should not be very easy to be able to buy. You can't just go and buy it. It has to be complicated. It should generate low returns for long periods of time and perhaps have a high residual value. That is what makes it attractive. But that residual value to be high might take a very long period of time, could take 7 years, could take 14 years, whatever. So that you are far more dependent on the residual value than on the appreciation that you get and the fact that you can sell it partially. You can't sell it partially, so it has to be a whole thing. Like if you buy a 3 BHK, you have to sell the whole 3 BHK, right? You can't sell partially. Whereas if you buy equity, you can, and you have 100 shares of a company which is very expensive, you can sell 1 share, 2 shares, 5 shares, whatever you want to reduce the risk and take some cash home, right? So that should be that should happen. It should guarantee generate low returns. It should be leveraged. To be able to buy it, you will have to leverage it. Without leverage, it's very difficult to buy. Therefore, almost everybody leverages, so you also leverage, and and you have no clue on how the interest rates will behave. So currently, interest rates, maybe the GSEC is at 7%. It could go up, it could go down. We all assume that it will go down, so it's okay to take a floating rate loan. But whatever it is, it has to be leveraged. So that makes it even worse. And it should, because it is leverage, it will be mortgaged, right? So it will be pledged to somebody, because you cannot just buy for leverage without giving any guarantees. You should have other costs related to it. For example, your family, you think you have enough insurance, but since you have incurred this loan, you have to go and take for yourself some term insurance till this loan is repaid. So there are other costs which you have to consider, which many people don't consider, but that also has to be considered. And it should be it should not be very productive, right? So you should, maybe you're scared to give it on rent. Maybe you have gold, but you don't want to do any gold lending. You don't want to do stock lending, right? You don't want to do stock lending, so you bought it, you can't sell it. You bought real estate, you don't want to give it on rent, right? So it has to be unproductive as long as you hold it. Equity should give you dividend, but real estate can give you rent only if you manage it well, right? It should be immobile. It should be stuck to one place, so that if there is a problem in that place, you're stuck with it. You can't do anything else with it. It should be subject to the fortunes of one country, one location, location, one city, one state, whatever, and obviously if that state does not do too well, you may not do well with that asset, right? So that could be there. It should be something that locks its owner to one geographical area, exactly what I said. It should be expensive. It should be so expensive that the common man cannot just come and buy it. So it is something like an aspirational class, like a luxury car. If you have a luxury car which you want to sell, there is a very small market for it, because the people who can't really afford it can afford a new one, right? You can't afford to, so you can't sell it, so it's very illiquid. It should be expensive to own, it should be expensive to maintain, right? All those things. It should be fragile and easily damaged by weather, by whatever else it can take, right? It should be damageable, so which means it is going to require a lot of upkeep. The first point which I said, it's going to require a lot of money to do its upkeep. It should be heavily taxed too, right? For example, if there is income from it, it should be taxed. If it is capital appreciation, that should be taxed. So it should be a highly taxed asset class. It should be taxed even more when you sell, right? So it should be something which you can never really own, because you may end up paying the mortgage for a long period of time. So if you're paying for a long period of time till you end up paying all the mortgage, you don't really own it. And it will have to be an asset which is very difficult for you to execute by yourself, which you should always require a broker or somebody else to do, because you cannot do it as a DIY. Now, if all these features you consider, many assets will qualify for that. For example, investing in a fund which invests in private equity. You could get stuck with one or two investments which would take 5-7 years for you to liquidate. So it does happen. Gold jewelry. Jewelry includes a huge markup for making charges, because of which there is a high transaction cost. So it's not a very great thing to own. Corruption is possible if you are investing in a fund which invests in private equity. You do not know whom to blame, your broker or the promoter who has been funded, right? So it's very complicated to understand. But because people don't understand, people invest. They say, wow, some mumbo jumbo, so it must be good. So check out all this, check out all these features and find out what suits you. I mean, does real estate suit you? Do you want to do investment properties? Do you want to stay in a rental house? Push your investment decision through this video and you will know what is a good investment and what is a bad. Here we have featured all the bad qualities that should not be there in an investment, or what features, if it is there, does that investment become a bad investment. Now it's for you to listen, read and then decide what to do. Thank you.